Praise. First off, who am I? My name is Kristofer. I work as a product manager for Common Stack and Token Engineering Commons, and do a little work for Giveth as well. And I've taken on the task of upgrading our current praise system. The praise is a system for that is running within these three communities. That is Giveth, Common Stack, and the TEC. And our ambition is to upgrade this system into from being a system that is built around Google spreadsheets and a lot of manual labor, to try to automate it a little bit and move it over to a stable backend and make it into an open source system available for everyone. So what is praise about? I guess most of you already know this, but it's praise is about celebration, the contributions others have.
Hey, Kristofer, sorry, I totally muted you, trying to let people into the call. My bad.
Thanks. Praise is a way of acknowledging and acknowledging the contributions that other community members do, and it's a subjective perspective on tracking and rewarding community contribution, and that differs from many other systems, I guess. So it has more to do with what do I as a community member value, what do you as a community member, what do you value, and we celebrate and acknowledge each other's achievements, as subjective as they may be. Like I think you have made a valuable contribution to the community, then I praise you for that contribution, and that gets registered, and that has a value. Both it can end up having a tokenized value, and also it has a value of being a part of a rich data set that makes up a fairly interesting signal. So we track and reward these community contributions, and with the upside also that we're in the process, we are building a culture of giving and gratitude. So it's everyone loves getting praised for the work they do, and most of us also enjoy praising others for what they do. So in the process, we build sort of a more caring culture around the community. So it's praise the missing piece in the reward system puzzle. Not necessarily, but we think it's definitely a piece, an important piece, a piece that is missing most of the time, because tracking these subjective contributions, the qualitative contributions that no automated system can track that, and like different kinds of budgeting, etc., often also cannot track that. How do you track a person coming from the outside, retweeting a bunch of tweets and joining a few meetings and coming in with really good energy to the community? That is a contribution, but most often that is not tracked. But the praise system has no ambition to be a solution that serves as the sort of the base reward system for a community. But rather it's a smaller piece of the puzzle on top of other solutions to reward contributors for more fixed responsibilities, etc. So the act of praising, how do we do it? This is how it happens. Most often, like, oh, I praise you. No, I praise you. Back and forth. So everyone, you see, we have the way we would like to do it is like we want to praise, we want to praise the people we like because we like them. And unfortunately, that is not the right way to do it. So there is a difficulty with doing this praise system, is that praising people for being cool people leads to praise being a popularity contest, and that is not what we intend. So it's sort of a constant work with the instructing the community that when you praise, you should focus on the contribution and not the person, because it's the contribution that counts. The praise process from praise to token looks a bit something like this. So we start with the act of praising, and then comes the quantifying, some analyzing, and finally a distribution. And I'm going to look into each of these steps, and also say something about future developments, and then we can do some questions. So the act of praising takes part mostly on using Discord and Telegram bots. So there in the middle of the screen, you see an example of how it can look. You see there that Griff praises Mount Manu for taking on the praise role for Ivy, and Lauren praises Mitch for keeping Paran Party debates calendar up to date and scheduling time with party hosts. Those are quite qualitative, good praises. They contain like some qualitative information of actually what the person did, not just being a nice person. So we acknowledge these contributions, and those used to be saved into a Google spreadsheet, and sort of the whole process held together by spreadsheets and gaff tape and chewing gum. And now we want to upgrade that whole thing. So now for the new version, we're developing a real backend with a database, etc., to make it more efficient. But one interesting thing is that we also do live praising, and I think when a community implements this system, they shouldn't skip that part of doing the live praising. It feels a bit weird the first time you do it. So every community meeting, weekly community meeting, we start with giving everyone attending the meeting like 1 minute each to just praise away. So usually people come with the lists, and I praise this, I praise this person and this person and this person and this person for doing this, blah blah. And that community meeting gets recorded, and then someone gets the not as funny interesting task of writing all that down and doing the praising afterwards, the interacting with the bot. But the big benefit of doing praising this way, the live praise on the weekly community call, it's like sort of a crash course for new attendees. What is happening in the community? You get such a super interesting overview of what is happening. Second step is the step of quantifying these praise, and actually we look, so a human eye looks at each line of praise recorded, and tries to give a quantitative score to each line, which is difficult. There's no I must say it is. So that is one of the reasons we ended up in what we call the Praise-mageddon this summer, which was a situation where it had to do with how we quantified the praise, the subjectiveness of different quantifiers. So sorry, I should mention how the quantify process works. So community members will be allowed to volunteer for the quantifier pool. So being a member of the quantifier pool is sort of being registered for jury duty, or I don't know if you register. And then for each praise period, we have the ambition of doing praise periods bi-weekly. So every 2 weeks, we will close a period and we will do the quantifications and analysis and distribution. So for every of those periods, a few people out of the pool will be randomly selected and assigned to be quantifiers for that period. And then they will look at each line and give each praise a score according to it used to be a free form number, but now it's will be a set scale. so to make the results a little bit more uniform. So one of the reasons we ended up in a praise Mageddon, where the results of the quantification was not fully respected by parts of the community, and it became sort of a smaller crisis around this, was the subjectiveness of the quantifications, and also that we have had intermingled the purpose of the token being distributed in the end. So the token that we distributed was both a governance token and a token that would allow you to be part of the future community, the hatch, where we upgrade to a commons, and it also had a monetary value. So combining these different things into one token maybe was not the wisest move. But one of the things we would like to make with this new version is to streamline this process and to make it more smooth, because it's also it takes a bit of time doing this. So the ambition here is that each praise will be quantified by at least 3 quantifiers using a much simpler interface, the one you see now, where you just pull a slider from left to right to select the praise score, and you can dismiss it if it's out of scope, sort of, it's not praise, and mark it as a duplicate if it's already been said, because we have that rules saying that one person should only be praised for one contribution once within one praise period. Moving on to the analytics and the distribution step. Here we export, currently we export the data out of the praise system and into a Jupyter notebook because it serves the purpose real well of doing analytics and visualizations, etc. And we also, there's an important idea behind this, that we don't build a fixed number of analytics into the dashboard of the system, and that is that for each we want to run an iterative process, and for each praise period we do a post-quant analytics session with the community, where we go through the numbers and do the visualization and discuss it together. And then based on the insight from that session, we have the possibility of adjusting the parameters and changing this analytics dashboard for next praise period. But one thing that will happen in the future is that most likely a few of these like basic analytics scores, etc., visualizations, they will be brought into the open source system, and then you can do additional analytics outside, of course. I just wanted to show you one of these that came up through this rewards system, this process that has been run just now. This fantastic graph of showing, for instance, the streams of praise from giver to receiver. That is the diagram down to the right. So those are just two examples, and then you see on the screen there's some allocation percentages, how much of the tokens go to the score goes to the community whales, or how do the distribution look, the Gini coefficient, criticized by a few, but still there it is, and a bunch of other metrics. And yeah, but basically that is where the praise system ends, and this the dashboard also calculates the final distribution score. So we feed the system with praise, we do the quantification based on a group of quantifiers, we analyze the result, and we make a distribution out of that that we send onto a DAO in our case, or it could be Gnosis multisig or whatever, and distribute tokens based on this final step. And then I would like to move on and talk to you a bit about interesting, like future scenarios, or how you can use this data, because that is one of the added or the real cool things with generating this data set, which is a super rich data, saying so much about what is happening in the community. It has both the temporal aspect and the loads of different qualitative aspects, etc. So these are things that we, some of them we plan to do, and others are just on the drawing board or just ideas for other communities to implement if they choose to work with the praise system. So up to the left there, we verified by praise. And by that we mean let's draw up an algorithm that counts how many times have you sent praise for the last 6 months? How many times have you received praise for the last 6 months? From how many people? How many have you sent to? And then we just define a calculation like this is being verified by praise means this. So if you have sent 10 praise to 10 different people, you have received 10 praise from 10 different people during the last 6 months, then we regard you as an active community member. And regarding you as an active community member, we mint you a POAP or an NFT or some other token that will, combined with the community token, will give you access to governance functionality, for instance. So that is, in a way, much better for our use case than just having a proof of humanity, for instance. That we also would like to see that the user is an active community member, maybe to get let them get access to certain features, certain things. Then, of course, a basic thing such as what is happening in the community. The act of praising gives you that information somewhat. The act of being praised gives you that information because your Discord goes bleep, and you go to the praise channel and you read what you got praised for, and you also maybe read some other praise when you're there. So you're constantly being informed of what's happening in the community. You could do simple sentiment analysis, both on a group or an individual level. Like how are we doing as a community? Are we picking up speed, or are we slowing down? Sort of, is the amount of praise decreasing over time? Is it mostly positive praise, or negative praise is not a thing? But I think I'm not super experienced when it comes to machine learning and text analyzing, but I think you can draw conclusions based on how people formulate the contents of their praise over time. I think you could read a signal from that. And on the individual plane, definitely, if you have a group of core contributors and you see one person that used to send 30 praise a week now sends only 12 or 2, then maybe that is a cause for concern somehow. Are we losing you? Are you not feeling well? What is happening? And lastly, to the right of the picture, there is I'm not a big fan of fluffy mission, vision, and values statements that are so difficult to translate into actual strategies and action plans, and most often are sort of top-down constructions or made by the community when everyone was happy and friends, and then you write that document and then put it aside and then not look at it so much more. So one interesting thing how to study the data would be to see the rich data set coming out of praise as a sort of an emergent property for the community. We see our mission, vision, and values is an emergent property based on this praise data. We study it instead of writing it beforehand. What do we really value? Let's look at the praise data. Oh, it seems like we value that people show up on meetings. That is a clear signal from the praise data. Apparently people like that. So that is apparently one of our values, being on time on meetings. And you can sort of read out lots of interesting information. In what direction are we heading? Apparently we are looking at DeFi space currently, because people seems to be praising each other a lot about DeFi that has risen from 0 to 1,000 over the last 6 months. So apparently DeFi is now part of our strategy. So that is I think it's a complex system, interesting approach of not trying to design or engineer the system, but rather to let it grow over time. And I think this is my last slide. The future. What do the future hold for Praise, except for the launch of Praise as an open source system available for all communities, which is in itself we are super excited about being able to do, and we hope to be done by the end of Q1 next year, with an MVP sort of coming around New Year or slightly after. But other features than that, we have been discussing stuff like I did a thing. One type of information that is people, it's difficult to capture this information. People tend not to praise themselves because it feels weird, and yeah. So maybe there should be like a I did a thing where you can actually say, let the community know what you did that no one else saw, which is super interesting. Group praising. Instead of praising an individual, praise the marketing team for doing this fancy marketing logo stuff. Forward praise is an idea that came up on a meeting just the other day, and a person in the team expressed that a sense that sometimes you get praised for stuff that you don't deserve. And you can, because you can praise many people at a time, so and that can feel weird a bit at times. So maybe you should be able to just forward your praise. If you get praise that you don't think that you should have, then you just pass it on to someone else who is more deserving. I think I'll stop there actually. So thank you for listening. And if you would like to come in contact with me or the praise team, we are on Discord, and yeah.